What's good, y'all? It's Alex Kamunyu here, and I'm back with another video. And in today's video, I'm gonna show y'all how y'all can scale from 0 to 16 rental units in just a few years. If you're new to this channel, then it's all about earning money, saving money, and investing money to achieve financial freedom. If you haven't been rocking with us and you don't know what financial freedom is, then financial freedom is the ability to live off of passive income from assets that you've invested in so that you don't have to trade in your time for money at a job. Let's get into today's video.
I guess I got my swagger back.
So like I said, I want to show y'all how you can literally go from owning $0 in real estate one year to owning 16 units within just a few years. So to show this, I'm going to go through a practical example, step by step, year by year, on how somebody can do this. So what we're doing here is we're going to be acquiring 3 different properties over the span of a few years, and I'm going to show you exactly how it can be done, how much money you will need at each stage, and exactly what you're going to be doing with the money in the next stage. So in year 1, right, the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be house hacking a duplex with an FHA loan. If you don't know what house hacking is, I suggest you go listen to episode 5 of the podcast, number 1. But briefly, house hacking is essentially when you live in one unit of a multi-unit building or a multi-unit property and you rent out the others, right? So if you have a duplex, you live in one side of the duplex and you rent out the other side. It essentially allows you to eliminate your largest expense, which is your housing expense, right? So you will no longer be paying rent. And so in year 1, we're gonna be buying a duplex with an FHA 203K loan. So an FHA 203K loan is a loan in which they will allow you to roll in rehab costs into the mortgage. They'll give you the money to buy the house and they'll give you the money for the rehab. And so in year 1, we're gonna purchase a duplex that is $100,000 and we're gonna renovate it for $35,000, which is the max the 203K loan will allow. Once this property is fixed up, it's gonna be worth $200,000. And so with a FHA loan, the good thing about this loan is that it only requires 3.5% down. So 3.5% of $135,000 is about $4,700. We're just gonna round that up to $5,000 as our down payment. And so now you've purchased the property, they give you the money to fix it up. So you hire a contractor to get it fixed up. So now once that property is fixed up, it's going to be worth $200,000, which is our ARV, right? After repair value. Okay, so now we can figure out how much equity we actually have in this property, because that's what's gonna allow us to, actually get into the bigger property, right? Essentially, what we're gonna be doing is playing real life Monopoly. You buy the little red house and you go buy the big green hotel, right? Equity is calculated as your value of the house minus the amount you owe on it or your mortgage, right? And so in this example, our value of the house is $200,000, like I said, as the ARV, and the mortgage is $135,000. So that means we have $65,000 in equity in this property as soon as we get it fixed up, right? And so with an FHA loan, the caveat is that you have to live in the property for 1 year before you can leave that property. So in order to get an FHA loan, by law, you have to live in that property. Otherwise, you would be committing mortgage fraud. So I do not recommend you go get investment properties or rental properties with a FHA loan. Ask Acon. And so in our assumptions, we said that you were paying $1,000 a month in rent. And so that means our rent savings for that 1 year would be $12,000. We're going to assume that we live in this property for 2 years. And so that means our rent savings would be $24,000. And so now it's been 2 years and you like, yo, I got this down pack. I'm ready to go get my, 100 unit building. This is nothing. Slow your roll. We gonna get there. Now, the key thing to know here is that we're going to be able to pull out the equity that we have in the property and use that to get into our next property, right? After 2 years, we're gonna go to a bank and we're gonna refinance this property so that we can pull out the equity that we have sitting in this property. We don't want equity sitting in a property. We wanna make sure that cash is always out there working for us. That $65,000 sitting in that house is not doing anything for you. Yeah, it's good not to have too much debt, but in my opinion, especially when you're getting started, it's good to use leverage and put that equity to work. Make sure you're getting a good return on that equity. But another assumption that we should actually make here is that the property values are going up about 3% every year. So 3% per year would mean that this property in 2 years would now be worth about $213,000. And so now you can go to a bank and essentially tell them, hey, I want to refinance this property so I can pull out my equity. So the bank will say, hey, we'll give you 75% LTV, which means They'll give you 75% of the value of that property as your new mortgage, right? And so that means they'll give you about 160,000. 212,000 times 75% is about 160,000 roughly. And so with that $160,000, you have to now pay back your previous loan, right? So remember, your previous loan, you got it originally for 135,000. You put 5,000 down, so that brings it down to 130. But let's say that tenant also paid the loan down for those 2 years by another $5,000. So now that brings it down to 125. So you take the 160,000 that the new bank gives you and you pay back the 125,000 to the old bank that you first bought the property from. And so that means you get $35,000 in cash given back to you. So that essentially becomes what our new equity value is. So what does that actually mean? You have $35,000 of cash that you just pulled out as equity from the other property. And then you remember you've been saving $1,000 a month for 2 years. So now you have another 24,000, because remember the assumptions we made was that you're not a financial fool and you have some financial intelligence, and that you're not taking any extra money and going blow it on stupid stuff. You were actually saving that. So now you have $59,000 in cash to go and put into the next property. So the next property is going to be a quadplex, right? A 4-unit property. So this is in year 3. For this deal, we're gonna find an off-market quadplex for $100,000 that needs another $100,000 of work, right? What makes this strategy work is that you're buying stuff that needs repairs, right? Because that allows you to build equity, and the equity is what you pull out of the property. So you have to be buying distressed properties. This doesn't work if you're trying to buy move-in ready properties. That's, like I said, you can take that somewhere else. Take that across the street. We don't do that around here. So you're gonna go to a hard money lender to finance this. What they're gonna do is lend you loan to cost. So loan to cost is similar to loan to value as LTV, but it's LTC. Loan to cost means they're gonna give you a percentage of the total cost of the project. So they'll give you a total percentage of what it costs to rehab and fix it up. So in this case, let's just say the hard money lender is going to do 90% loan to cost, right? So $100,000 purchase, $100,000 rehab, that's $200,000 all in. So that means they'll loan you $180,000. You just have to come up with the other $20,000. They give you $180,000, you put down $20,000. And since now you have $59,000 from the previous property, this is no problem. You have that $20,000 to put on this next property 2 years later. So once this property is fixed up, let's say that it's gonna be worth about $350,000. So at this point now, it's time to pay back the hard money lender. The hard money loan is only for a few months, right? To get the property fixed up and stabilized. So it's usually up to only a year. So we need to pay them back. And so let's just say this property took 1 year to get fixed up and whatever. It was a big rehab, big project. You learned a lot of lessons, things went wrong, all this stuff happened. But after a year, you finally get it fixed up and stabilized. You go to the bank and you say, hey, I'd like to get a mortgage put on this property. And so the new bank would now say, okay, we'll give you 75% LTV. So 75% of 350 is about $263,000. And so that's how much they'll give you. And so with that money, of course, you have to go pay back your private money lender their $180,000 that they put in, right? So 263 minus 180 is $80,000. So that's how much equity now you get from this property. And that's actually now how much you get in cash back, because you've already paid everyone else back and the rest goes in your pocket. So you cash out at about $83,000. So remember, during this time, you were still living in the duplex, right? Living for free. Your tenant was still paying that down while this property was getting fixed up for that year. So during that year, let's just say that money that you were saving in rent, you were paying to the hard money lender while that property was getting fixed, because you have to pay them interest every single month. So that, let's just say you were paying them $1,000 a month in interest during that 1 year. So we're not gonna account for any rent savings for this 1 year. So we'll say $0 in rent savings for that 1 year. So remember, the rent savings plus what you pulled out of the previous property was about $59,000. But you used $20,000 of that for the down payment on this quadplex, right? So that leaves you with $39,000 plus the $83,000 that you got as equity from the new quadplex that you got fixed up and refinanced, right? So $83,000 plus $39,000 is $122,000 that you now have liquid available for you to go and buy your next property. This is literally money you should have sitting in the bank, $122,000 after the end of year 3. I'm sure you can guess what's coming next. So now at this point, we're gonna go and buy that 10-unit apartment complex now in year 4, at the beginning of year 4, because now you've been, for that previous year, you've been studying commercial real estate and you're like, yo, I got this, you know, I already know how to do this. I know about NOIs, I know about cap rates, I know about stabilizations, I know about repositions, I know about everything with commercial real estate that I need to know in order to do this successfully, right? So the key thing here is that every year you're still educating yourself, you're still learning, because you're getting ready for that next thing, right? That's key. I would be a fool if I just came on here and said, yeah, you just keep, you know, it's like really Monopoly. No, this is real life Monopoly, but it takes a lot more work. None of this is easy. So typically the only way that you can really get into commercial real estate is by putting 20% down. So if we did the math backwards and you have $122,000 in the bank, then that essentially means you would be able to buy something that was up to $610,000 with 20% down, right? And so now you can go put 20% down on a $600,000 10-unit building. And so now by year 4, you are the owner of a 10-unit apartment building. I'm not saying this is something that's going to be easy and you can, you know, do in your sleep. No, takes work. This takes effort. You have to educate yourself about real estate. You have to get knowledgeable, network with people, and get out there and take action in order for this to happen. It might have looked easy from here, but as we all know, if it was easy, everyone would do it, right? And obviously everyone's not doing it. How many people do you know with 16 units? But yeah, there you have it. That's your strategy. That's how you can go from literally 0 to 16 units in a span of 4 years. This is very practical. This is very feasible. But yeah, y'all let me know in the comments below, what are your real estate goals for 2021? How many units do you want to acquire in 2021? Let's talk about it, and I'll be happy to help in any way that I can. But yeah, y'all be sure to subscribe. Please leave a thumbs up and share this with 2 people. These videos take me a lot of time and a lot of effort, so I'd really appreciate if you left a thumbs up. You know, it's gonna help the YouTube algorithm show this to more people and get this message out there. But yeah, I hope y'all learned something of value today. I'll see y'all in the next one.